I'm sorry, everybody. My mic is off. Okay. No. Now we start. Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first event in our 2025 Diverse Perspectives in Digital Media and Design speaker series, hosted by the Department of Digital Media and Design at the University of Connecticut. To paraphrase James Baldwin, nothing can be changed until it is faced. This is certainly true of the inequities that have historically shaped the entertainment industry, both on screen and behind the scenes. We would like to begin today's event by acknowledging that the land on which we gather here in Storrs, Connecticut, is the territory of the Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Scatacoke, Golden Hill Paugussett, Nipmuc, and Lenape peoples, who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. We thank them for their strength and resilience in protecting this land and aspire to uphold our responsibilities according to their example. Today's event, Telling Authentic Stories, Amplifying Black and African Voices in Film, will feature a Q&A discussion with our guest artist Thato Mwosa. For our virtual audience, please take advantage of the YouTube chat box to submit questions for our guest so that we can include them in our discussion. I'm Catherine Massoud, and I'm your host for this evening's event. I'm a filmmaker with decades of experience in both fiction and documentary, and I'm also an assistant professor in residence and member of the film faculty in the Department of Digital Media and Design at UConn. Digital Media and Design is a young department, founded in 2013, which has rapidly grown to over 350 undergraduate and graduate students and 26 full-time faculty. We have 7 undergraduate concentrations across the full digital media spectrum: film production, animation, interactivity, business, and the humanities at both Storrs and Stanford campuses. In our department, we value and celebrate our students' diverse backgrounds, and we support their development both as individuals and as professional media creators. Now in its 5th year, Diverse Perspectives in Digital Media and Design speaker series is one celebration of those shared values. Now onto the show. I would like to welcome today's co-hosts and DMD students Ben Boucher and Ali Hopper. Ben Boucher is a transfer student from Florida Gulf Coast University majoring in digital media and design with a generalist concentration. His work covers a vast array of disciplines, including filmmaking, graphic design, concept design, storyboarding, and other multimedia fields. His hobbies include drawing, reading, writing, and playing video games. He is currently developing and honing his skills in comic creation.
Thank you. It is truly an honor to be here.
Thank you. Great to have you here, Ben. And Ali Hopper is a senior majoring in digital media and design with a concentration in motion design and animation. Her work focuses on 2D animations that connect with audiences through relatable experiences. She enjoys collaborating with fellow animators to bring stories to life and create meaningful, engaging content.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, wonderful. And thank you both for joining us as co hosts for this event. Now, on to our guest. It is my extreme pleasure to welcome today's guest, Thato Mwosa. Thato Mwosa is an award-winning illustrator, screenwriter, playwright, and filmmaker. Her films have been broadcast nationally and internationally. Her first feature film, Memoirs of a Black Girl, premiered at the 2021 Boston Globe's Black History Month Film Festival, and it won Best Feature Film Award at the 2021 Hamilton Black Film Festival and the 2021 Roxbury International Film Festival. Additionally, Thato won Best Feature Director at the 2021 Hamilton Film Festival. She's been featured on NPR and the Boston Globe. Thato was a finalist for the 2019 Mass Cultural Art Fellowship in the Dramatic Writing category. Thato's latest script, A Blue Dawn, is a quarter-finalist for the Academy Nicholl Fellowship and a semi-finalist for the 2021 Writer Lab in New York. Thato's artwork has been featured at the Warchis Gallery, Dudley Cafe, and the Armory. She was twice selected as the Artist of the Month for the Milton Public Library's Warties Gallery. Thato launched an African trivia card game, Sawa Trivia, in 2020, which is being used by several universities and high schools. In the summer of 2021, she released her first book, 14 African Women Who Made History. Thato has taught film and screenwriting classes at Boston University, Harvard University, and Lesley University. She is an assistant professor at Emerson College. So I want you all to welcome Thato Mwosa.
Thank you so much for the invitation to speak with you tonight and share my work with you. I'm really excited and I'm honored to be here. Thank you, Catherine and Ben and Ali, for the invitation. I'm going to start by doing my artist talk so I can kind of talk about my background as an artist. So I will share a screen right now. Let me know if you see it. Is that good? Okay. I'm going to turn off my camera because I don't want to see myself. Stop video. All right. Can you all hear me? All right. How do you, oh, hold on. I don't know how to, it's stuck. Let me troubleshoot for a second. Oh, I'm supposed to do this. Okay. As a Black female filmmaker, I explore the complex experiences of Black women in the United States while also bringing to light the stories of women in Africa. My dual identity informs and shapes my storytelling, allowing me to weave narratives reflecting the diaspora's richness and diversity. This is me back in Botswana, where I'm from. I was born and raised in Botswana in the city, the capital city, Gaborone, and this is my family. On the right, this is me and my sisters. I'm the one on the right of the picture. So as a filmmaker, I bring stories of young Black females, especially because I focus on coming of age films, but my work is not just in the United States. When I'm in the United States, I'm focusing on stories about the diaspora, about the youth, especially immigrants youth. When I focus on Africa, I'm looking at the Southern African region. That's where my stories come from. That's where I was born and raised. So these two pictures here are from the stills, that behind the scene pictures from the production of my film, Memoirs of a Black Girl, which was shot in Roxbury, here in Boston. If you know Boston really well, it's a predominantly Black and brown part of Boston. So when I was growing up, I used to watch a lot of films, and one that stood out for me were Usman Sembene's film. I'm inspired by Usman Sembene as a filmmaker. Usman Sembene is a father of African film. In his films, he represents African life in his own terms, capturing the ordinary day-to-day lives of working-class Africans beyond predictable stereotypes. He was the first filmmaker to make a film in an African language. So he's really like truly the grandfather of African film. He's no longer with us, but he still inspires young emerging filmmakers and obviously established filmmakers like me. Sembene Sembene was radical, unapologetic, and revolutionary, and used both the pen and camera to return African stories to African people. He once said, "It is time for Africa to speak for itself." He refused to be trapped by the European gaze, so he stated, "Europe is not my center. Why be a sunflower and tend towards the sun? I'm the sun." I really love this quote because it sort of like centers really why it's important to center your own storytelling in the place of your origins. And he wanted to tell, he was able to tell stories, though in Francophone, because he's from West Africa. And most of his stories were some in French and some in the local Wolof language of Senegal. And one of the reasons why I like this quote is it just reminds me how important to be able to tell your own stories and not allow others to define you. That really drives me as a filmmaker, gaining control of our narratives. So inspired by Seven, I confronted my work and I asked myself what my voice was as an African filmmaker living in the West. I often turn to African proverb that states, "Until the lion can tell his side of the story, the hunting tale will always glorify the hunter." Like the writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie said in her TED Talk, "The danger of a single story. The risk of a single story, the one perspective, is that it can lead us to default assumptions and lead us to misunderstanding." In the single story, Africa is a dark continent, primitive and undeveloped. It lacks innovation. It is engulfed by violent war, genocide, and famine. In the single story, Africans need to be saved by the West. I'm all too aware of the power of storytelling, how deeply the stories we are constantly exposed to shape our view of the world and our place in it. Armed with a pen and a camera, I realized I had the power to tell my own story. With my stories, I can dispel the myths and provide a counter narrative of an African diaspora that is balanced and authentic. In my writing, I confront outdated misrepresentations of Africa, its people, and the diaspora here in the United States. My films explore the lives of Africans and Caribbean immigrants in our communities. As a Black woman of African descent, I feel a responsibility and an obligation to tell stories of women and girls because their stories matter. In my writing, I explore issues that are personal to women, such as violence against women, gender and sexual identity, mental health, bullying, immigration, and etc. Over the years, I've created short films and a TV show distributed across Africa. I'll move on. My first film, Don't Tell Me You Love Me, I'm actually going to go back to the slide if I can. My first film, Don't Tell Me You Love Me, explores domestic violence within immigrant communities in Boston. It premiered at the Roxbury International Film Festival, where I won the Best Emerging Filmmaker Award. I also produced a TV show that follows the lives of 4 women from different parts of Africa as they navigate life as immigrants in New York City. Another project, The Day of My Wedding, poetically examines grief, centering on a woman who longs for her deceased fiancé on what should have been their wedding day. So now on to my feature film, Memoirs of a Black Girl. I had the privilege of working with young people with it was one of the most rewarding experiences having that involvement in making the coming of age story. These young people were my students, my former students. Some were current and some were already graduated but in college, but they served as actors behind the scenes. They also served, some of them were production assistants on set. So it was really nice to get them involved in the film. Memoirs follows a young Black girl from Roxbury who dreams of attending an Ivy League school while navigating social challenges of high school. Themes of cyberbullying, sexual identity, gentrification, immigration, and education are explored in the film. I'm passionate about empowering young youth to harness the power of storytelling and unlock their potential. So these are some of the scenes from Memoirs. One of the things that I wanted to do with the film was really celebrate Roxbury and show Roxbury in a different light, because when people think of Roxbury, I don't know if you guys, because you are in Connecticut, Roxbury is, there's a negative perception of Black towns, because it's a part of Boston, uh, the predominantly Black areas of Boston. So nothing in the news and our mainstream media, we really get any positive news or positive narratives of Roxbury. So I was intentional about how Roxbury looks and what I wanted to capture. So I was able to film in different businesses, community businesses like Dudley Cafe, which allowed us to come in for a day and take over one section of the cafe just for the production. We're able to also shoot at a Black-owned bookstore, and that at the time it was the only Black-owned bookstore in Boston. And they opened their doors for us because they were excited that a movie is being shot in the community. So it was a lovely experience being in Roxbury and being able to showcase Roxbury in a more positive light. Unfortunately, this mural of Nelson Mandela, which I loved, which actually appeared in my film, it got demolished a couple of months after production, and the developers promised to recreate it. It hasn't been recreated, but I wanted to show some of the murals of Roxbury. There's many more, but in the film, we wanted to also celebrate the art, the murals, just the life, the vibrant life that is of Roxbury. And after completing the film, and here, what I also wanted to do was celebrate, highlight immigrants, Black immigrants. The kids that were portrayed in the film were first gen, but their parents were from, either the Caribbean or Africa or the Caribbean, Dominican Republic. Like Marissa's mother is Dominican, Marissa's like Dominican American, and the main protagonist of the film, the mom was from an unidentified Caribbean country, because we wanted to make sure that everyone can connect with her. She had a Caribbean accent, but and she is of the actress herself is from the Caribbean, from Dominica. So these are some of some of my students who worked on the film. Chris Wang here is at Emerson College right now. He's a senior now, almost graduating. Kevin Bernandez graduated a while back college. He's working, and he used to actually teach filmmaking at high school. And some of the music came from my former students who make music. So Juxi, Dandre, and FYB, they make music, and they were able to contribute to the soundtrack of the film, which was wonderful. And some of there's more girls who participated in the film. Cindy was actually our production manager. So it really was a wonderful collaboration with my students, and they were all paid. They were all gaining skills to do this production, and to learn from experts, because we did have a professional crew that guided them, that mentored them as they were shooting. After completing memoirs, I created several short films in collaboration with young organizations across Greater Boston, youth organization across Greater Boston, commissioned by the Department of Public Health. This project includes Don't Look Away, which delves into mental health and school-related stress, Desmond Emotion, exploring the anxiety students face during their senior year, Something to Tell You, addressing themes of gender identity, and Temple, which we're going to see tonight, examining body image issues amongst teenagers in the age of social media. And I'm in development of a screenplay that is set in my country, Botswana. It's titled Rati. The script was a finalist for 2 prestigious screenwriting labs last year, the Store Narrative Lab in Vermont and the Writers Lab supported by Meryl Streep. The script is later for production in 2026 or 2027. We'll see how the year goes, but we're hoping we'll be in production next year. And just to tell you a little bit about the film before I go to this page, Rati tells the story of a student who must reclaim her power and voice after being shamed by her village for becoming pregnant by a teacher. The film explores themes of resilience, stigma, and self-empowerment in the face of social judgment. As a filmmaker, I aim to create works that ignite dialogue and inspire meaningful change. Over the years, my storytelling has evolved from delivering overt, message-driven narratives about women's challenges to crafting more nuanced, emotionally complex stories. I explore Black girls and women's resilience, aspirations, and internal struggles. These stories matter not because they fit within someone else's framework, but because they shatter those confines, boldly carving out space for voices that refuse to be ignored. So this is a collection of some of the films I've made over the years, some that I just talked about. Before we begin, I'm just gonna share, I think we are starting with Stay Here With Me. Stay Here With Me is a short that I made in 2022. And it's actually magical realism short film. I've never really explored that genre, and it was nice to kind of like tap into that a little bit and stretch my creative muscles. And in this film, a distressed young woman escapes her house to meet the love of her life in an enchanted garden despite her mother's objections. So we'll take a moment to watch the film and then we'll watch the next one after. So I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you so much for listening to my talk.
Honey, I'm going back to work today. It'll just be for a couple of hours. I know you don't like to take it, but you have to. I am so glad that you're home. I left your lunch in the refrigerator. You just have to put it in the microwave and warm it up. I love you.
Love you too. I missed you.
I missed you too. No pill?
Sorry about Tuesday. My parents can be really annoying. They don't get it.
I was wondering why you had to leave so suddenly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish they would just let me be. They think this isn't real.
Well, we're here, together, and it's a beautiful day. You look gorgeous.
Where are you taking me?
Somewhere magical. Wanna dance?
Right here without music?
Close your eyes. Listen closely. Nature's orchestra. There's some jazz in there. Shh. Listen.
Tiana? Tiana?
Are you having fun?
Of course I am. I love looking at the clouds. If you look closely, you can see a shape. Yesterday I saw a bunny, and last week I saw a heart. The clouds send us a message. You just have to pay attention.
Message from the clouds. Let's run away together.
What? Where?
Anywhere but here. Away from it all.
Shit, my mom's here.
Come
Tiana!
with me.
What? Where?
Anywhere but here. Come on.
No, wait! Tiana! Please, leave me alone. Why do you always have to ruin the moment?
You didn't take your pill, did you? Look at me. Noah's not real.
No. Don't say that.
I'm real. Don't listen to her. Come away with me.
He doesn't exist. Remember Dr. Jackman? It's your mind playing tricks on you. I'm real, your daddy is real, and we love you so much. He's just your imagination. The medicine will help you heal.
Don't take it. The pill isn't good for us.
He's not real. Stay here with me, please.
watch carefully, the clouds send us a message. You just have to pay attention. Sorry. You'll feel better soon. It's okay.
All right. So the next film is called Temple, and I'll say a little bit about Temple. Hold on. I don't. So for Temple, Temple, and I'll talk more about Temple after it's done. How I did the production, because it's a different production from Stay Here With Me, which is a more of a personal story. In this short film, a 14-year-old girl struggles with her body image after a snarky comment made by one of her friends. This leads her to spiral out of control to try and lose weight by taking life-threatening measures. So we'll play the film and then we can have a chance to chat.
Why is she wearing a dead raccoon around her neck?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a bad idea. Oh my gosh, no, not another pimple.
Just put a pimple patch over it. It'll be fine by the party next week.
But no, look, it's a big red one.
Damn, Rudolph, just cover it up with some makeup.
Yeah, you're right. That's what my sis usually does.
Oh, is she back from college?
Yeah, she's here all summer. Officially here to annoy the heck out of me. But let me change into this outfit really quick. selfie. What do you think?
It's nice, but you should probably shave a little belly fat first.
Am I fat?
I mean, you're not fat. You just want to lose some belly fat first. Look, it's fine. Just, you need to learn how to like squeeze in a little bit. You know, you want to have flat abs like mine, right? Just pull up and just squeeze in. Kim Kardashian style.
I could hardly breathe like that.
It's fine. Just starve yourself in the morning, do some squats, and you should be fine.
Babe, you give those Caribbean restaurants a run for their money. This jerk right here, better than anything I've ever eaten.
Don't let Grandma hear you say that, Dad. She'll throw a fit and disown you.
And guess what? I'll deny I ever uttered these words.
I mean, it is her recipe after all. I just added a few secret ingredients to perfect it, which none of you will see until it's on my will, after I'm dead.
What? So you're not going to share it with me and Val?
No, you two might sell it to the highest bidder. You will have to sign a contract and swear under oath before you get this recipe.
Damn, Mom.
That's right.
You do not play about this chicken.
No, I don't. Honey, aren't you going to eat?
No, I'm really full today, Mom. I'm just gonna stick with the salad.
But this is your favorite. I made it because you asked a few days ago.
I know, but I'm just really full. I'm not hungry.
Are you okay? Did anything happen at school?
No, Mom, I'm fine. No way.
Hey, are you done?
Can you knock before you enter?
Good morning, honey.
Good morning.
Having sausage and eggs for breakfast?
No, I'm good. I'll just have an orange.
Morning.
Morning.
Have a good day at school.
Thank you.
And then he said, "Can I borrow your pen?" He's totally into you. Really? Yeah, and he'll be at the party later. You guys, we should go to Z's ice cream parlor. I think it's about to close.
I'm not getting ice cream today.
What? But you live for fun day Sunday.
I know, but I'll pass this time.
idea. She needs to lose a few pounds to be skinny like us.
What?
Yeah, Bianca's right. I'll just catch up with you guys later.
Val, have you seen my... What the hell is this?
Can you mind your business? Can you just give it back?
No, I knew something was going on with you too. You didn't eat breakfast or dinner this whole week. Do you think you need to lose weight?
Look at me. I look like a buffalo.
A buffalo, really? Who told you that? Did someone tell you that, or you just made up that narrative in your head?
No, I just need to look good for the party on Saturday.
Okay, what are you wearing?
I'll send it to you. I wanted to wear that.
So cute.
Yeah, but Bianca said, you know, I just need to shave off a little belly fat.
She said what?
Yeah, but she's right. I searched it up on Google and it says I'm like 10 pounds overweight.
Don't be ridiculous. You are beautiful, just the way that you are, and beauty's on the inside, not on the outside.
That's not true.
Look at me. You're beautiful. You have the most beautiful eyes and skin and body. And most importantly, you have a beautiful heart.
That's so cliche. That's what mothers say to their ugly children.
Really? You don't believe me? All right, let's see what my friends have to say. See? Look, this is just public opinion. It doesn't matter what other people think about you. What matters is what you think of yourself. And that Bianca girl, she's toxic and you need to get rid of her. You need friends who are gonna lift you up, not tear you down. You know what? Go on your phone and block her on all your socials. Do it now, or I'll do it for you. Good. You don't need this. I want you to go to that party wearing that outfit and live your best life. Eat whatever you want to eat. You are perfect. You're a stunner.
Thank you so much.
I love you.
Me too, sis.
Thank you, Thato. Thank you for your wonderful presentation and for sharing these two very beautiful films with us. I want to actually hand it over now to our student co-host to engage with you. They have been studying your work and watching your films, and so they have some questions that they would like to ask you. So, Ali and Ben, I'm handing it over to you two.
Yeah, those were beautiful films. Like I'm about to cry right now. They're
Thank you.
wonderful. Could you talk a little bit about the inspiration behind the two films and your goals in making them?
Yeah. So for Stay Here With Me, it was actually a personal film. I say a personal film because with Temple is a part of a collection that was commissioned by the Department of Public Health. They wanted to reach the youth, and they wanted to, I collaborated with the department to write along with the youth. It was actually another kind of like same model that I used for my feature film, Memoirs of a Black Girl. And in this instance, I didn't come up with the story. It was a collaborative effort. For me, I wanted to hear what the young people wanted. These are different organizations in Greater Boston. The three organizations that I worked with were Girls Inc. of the Valley, but also the Girls Inc., the one in Lowell. There's Lean one and a Lowell one. And then I also worked with a youth organization in Lowell called Making Opportunity Count. And the other organization, youth-based organization, was Team Block. And they were all sort of in Greater Boston areas. So in that, it's like a film like Temple. I was tasked with making 4 films with 4 different organizations. And it was over a course of 1.5 years, I think a year to a couple of months. And Temple was the last one to be produced. So with Temple, this was Girls Inc. of the Valley, and they were mostly middle school students, girls, all girls, no boys. And when I met with them, I was curious about, because it was the last film, I didn't want to repeat some of the themes, some of the issues we confronted in the other storytelling. So I wanted to push them to tell a different story. And of course, the usual came up, like drugs and, identity. So I was like having this conversation, but I didn't want to come up with the ideas myself. So we brainstormed and we landed on this topic because it was that concern, especially that they're in middle school, that at the age where they're concerned about that image, that, in the age of social media. So I was happy that they landed on this topic, and my job was now to come up with a story collaboratively with them, that they can relate to in a way. So we went through the process of brainstorming and figuring out our protagonist, our character, and what she's going through. And this is the story that we ended up with. And it was a beautiful project. I really loved that input. What I did with them was more to collect and just solidify the story in what we call in filmmaking, in screenwriting, we call it treatment. So when I left with them, and I think you guys are aware of a treatment, right? So I would meet with them every week as a group. And once I had the treatment, then I had like 2 weeks to just write the screenplay, because the way the program was designed, we had limited time for production from start of the development phase to production, which meant that I could not teach them, like even to attempt to teach them filmmaking or screenwriting, that would take many months, right? Just to give them tools to become better writers. So my task was really to write the story for them, but it's still that story. So what you saw here is that idea, that story, that vision, and I just needed to execute it. So I wrote the screenplay and I sent it to them, and they read it out loud. We actually performed it, and they loved it, and some of them cast themselves. In the end, actually, we weren't able to have actors from that. So we reached out to another youth organization here in Boston, Originations. So the youth that you see, the two girls and some of the ladies that you saw in the film, they're from Originations, which is a dance company here, but they do theater. So they have a lot of actors. So that's really in terms of making Temple and the other stories the 4 other stories that I shared in my presentation. So for Stay Here With Me, this was different. I just was ready to make a film, and sometimes I'm like, I'm ready to make a short film. Let me figure out what I want to do. And at the time, because I've been an educator for some time now, I'll say maybe I'm at year 15 of doing this, like teaching young people. Right now I'm at Emerson College as an assistant professor, but I was teaching high school for a long, long time. And after COVID, what I noticed was just the mental health. It was the mental health crisis within the youth, with the youth students. At the high school that I was at, students were battling mental health and mental illness. So, and of course, COVID made it worse. So that was on my mind. I knew I wanted to kind of like tackle this topic because I had not actually, this was the first film that focuses on mental health. So part of my mission was to understand bipolar and schizophrenia, because we do have, in my family, I have 2 cousins who were diagnosed with bipolar. So I'm familiar with it. And one of the cousins, I lived with her. So then for my approach was trying to not make a judgmental film where it's like, this is a person I wanted to just go inside, allow the audience to go inside, and kind of like it becomes that reality, what we are witnessing with her, we're experiencing her reality. So I wanted to do it that way. And of course, the surprise is that the guy doesn't exist, but that's her way of escaping and her happiness. And it's kind of like a question is like, are they better off finding that joy in the world that they create, or that is fictionalized in their head, or are they better off facing reality, which can be harsh and unbearable, but with the medication may be bearable. So for me, I wasn't even making any kind of statement on whether pills, but I just wanted to kind of go inside that man, and she found her joy in whatever she lived in her head, and she found that joy. So the other thing I wanted to do with that film was to do magical surrealism in a way. It's not exactly like the real definition, but I wanted to explore that kind of genre a little bit. So it was my attempt at doing something different. And I had so much fun with that film, just because we wanted to make it beautiful, because if you want to escape your reality, the reality that you're escaping needs to look magical. And that was the like finding an enchanted garden, like a beautiful garden. It turns out that we have an arboretum here in Melton, and I didn't know about that. And then I reached out to them, went to tour the place, and they allowed us to shoot at the Arboretum. They gave us like a day, like Sunday morning, at least for that scene, which was quite tight. The funny story, I have a funny story about the Arboretum. When we went for location scouting, it was springtime, and the flowers were blooming. It was just beautiful, like everywhere. Like the trees were just bright and vibrant, with all these flowers during the fall. And it's an arboretum, so they really it's almost like you're I don't know if you've been to the Boston Common in the spring. it's just so beautiful because everything is blooming. So I was excited about that. But then obviously the timeline of our film, we went to shoot, I would say 3 weeks after we saw the location. And when we showed up, the flowers had died. So and this is in production, for those who are in production, we just needed to fix the situation, and I ordered fake flowers from Amazon, and they came the next day, and our job was to plug those flowers into the trees. So it looks like the trees were blooming. So it looks like what I imagined, and what we storyboarded, and what we did as a pitch deck, just to kind of a mood board, just to capture what we really wanted. So that was those little things that happen in production, and you need to kind of troubleshoot. But those two films are very special because I tend to focus on coming of age stories of, yeah, especially of young Black girls. And they are truly my favorite films, just because I also made an attempt at making them beautiful. And that was the fun part, like the production, the production design was the fun part.
Yeah, that film was definitely my favorite of the two. It definitely gave me a sense of a beautiful sadness, because at the end of the day, everyone's looking for the one, as it would be shown in the film, and even
Yeah.
though it wasn't real, it was still like a nice thing to feel at the start.
Yeah, thank you.
So bouncing off of that question, you already mentioned who and what were your inspirations for your artistic career, but was there like any specific film or a specific artist or film director that made you feel like that like gave you that was like lightning in a ball that made you realize that you wanted to pursue this?
Yeah, there's a lot of women filmmakers that I really admire. I mean, I mentioned Usman Sembene. The reason why I love him as an African filmmaker is just because he just managed to find success and tell stories his own way, and show African filmmakers that it can be done. So for my inspiration, there's many. Ava DuVernay comes to mind. I love her focus on social justice, especially because that's kind of what I am concerned about, and what I explore in my films, just issues that are related to social change, social justice. I also love Deepa Mehra. She's an Canadian, actually, Canadian Indian filmmaker. She made a beautiful film called Water. It's I don't know, Catherine is nodding, so I'm sure she's familiar with Deepa Mehra, but she made, my favorite is Water, and I think it was Oscar nominated. This is like 20 years ago. And it's a cycle. It's like the fire, and then my other favorite filmmaker is Mirane. She's also Indian American. I love her work. I look to her. So for me, I'm always looking for women who find ways to do it no matter what, because it's not easy being a female director, right? It's hard to, I mean, as much as we love cinema, film is the most expensive art form, right? Like, you can get up and just embroider this without having to pay so much, but to make one film, and part of the cost is getting the collaboration of film, because it's also a collaborative art form. So that means everyone has to be paid. And for me, I would never want to recruit people to make my art and not get paid. So whenever I'm thinking about the film, I'm always thinking, how am I going to pay these people? And I have to figure out a way to raise money. But that doesn't really stop me, because I think what's nice about technology is that it's become cheaper to make a film now. with the onset of digital film, that made it easier. People can just, because film itself was expensive at the time. And now you can also make a film off of your cell phone, right? You have the tools, and I always say don't let the limitation of funds stop you, especially if you're emerging. Find ways to tell the story, because the more you make film, the more you get better, right? Whether you made it on the cell phone. I mean, one of the most beautiful film that was made on a cell phone, I actually show, I started to show my students during the pandemic. I was showing them the iPhone films. If you look at Apple films, they are really cinematically beautiful and professional looking, because the iPhone wanted to show that you're capable of making. So they recruited a couple of filmmakers to make short films. So I have a collection of those that I show to my students, because I'm like, hey, you got a tool. You can actually do this. But one of the film that comes to mind that was made on a film on a that was made on a cell phone with, I think it was an iPhone, is Tangerine. If you haven't seen it, it's old now, but it's been out there. But it was just magical, beautiful. So for me, it's yes, there are those challenges, but that shouldn't stop you. So you have to make films by any means necessary. So now coming back to, I say this to my students all the time: you are in college, you have access to expensive equipment. You have access to lights, you have access to audio things. And on top of that, you have talent, your friends. You have a friend who wants to be a director, probably taking a production class. You have a friend who's taking an editing class. You have a friend who may know something about audio. Come together and make that short film for free, because it's truly, when you're in school, the tools are free. And in fact, I found that when I graduated, I was like, oh, I wish I still had access to those cameras. So that's really my advice, because I think we don't want to stop. I think once you start, like I can see myself stopping to do what I do, even if it's very challenging. Like right now, I'm talking about my film in Botswana. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I know I'll do it. It has to be done. I just have to find a way.
Amazing.
Mhm.
How are you able to manage the pursuit of multiple career types in media, such as being a filmmaker, writer, illustrator, game creator, education, etc.?
That's actually a good question. I will tell you what, because I get that question a lot. When I created the game and I wrote the children's book, it was during the pandemic. It was during that lockdown phase where it's like, what do? You have all this time. And at that time, I was teaching at Brookline High School, and we were still trying to figure out how to teach online, right? And it wasn't yet, because the pandemic happened and we were in lockdown for maybe 6 months. And by the time September came, they had figured out, okay, we'll do full online where you have class after class after class. But before then, it was just being home and checking in on my students maybe every couple of they have projects to do. And this is where the cell phone idea, making films with the cell phone came during the pandemic, because I knew all my students had cell phones, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna let go of my kind of like my reservations about cheap looking film, right, with the cell phone. And because at the end of the day, that they can, they're still practicing making films. So yeah, during the pandemic, I was teaching, but the teaching schedule wasn't as rigorous as like the normal teaching schedule that we have. So I had a lot of time, and I was able to create the game, and I was able to write the story, and I had finished my feature film. So we were in the editing process, actually, because we shot in 2019, and then the pandemic happened in 2020. So we're still editing. But now it looks like I'm doing all of that. But really, it was I had the luxury of time at that time. But how do I juggle? I think you have to be disciplined with your time. Because I teach, teaching is my job, is my priority, but my other priority is writing. My other priority is making films. So what I have to do, otherwise I will not be happy teaching if I can't practice my art. I allocate days when I'm not teaching that I can be disciplined to stay on my computer and write whatever I can write. So Fridays are my writing days. Is that always the case? No, because we've got doctor's appointments. I have 3 kids and we got all this other stuff that I have to do. But I do find time. I get inspiration all the time. Like I've been watching Sundance films online because the festival just wrapped up. And I'm now watching the Oscar nominated films. And every time I watch, I get a new idea. I was like, no, you still have that idea that you have to finish. But because I get inspiration all the time, I'm always excited to go back to writing. So that's how I manage to juggle. I think it's just being as disciplined as possible.
So bouncing off of that question, what advice would you give to the students that want to pursue a path that's similar to yours in multiple media, in different forms of media?
I would say, because being a jack of all trades, maybe it's difficult, right? And sometimes I wonder if it takes away from the stuff that still needs to develop, like when you're kind of like exploring different mediums. But I would say try to figure out, and you find that one gains more success than the other. Like for me, filmmaking is like my priority, but I can draw and I draw. And I found some success as an illustrator. I've exhibited at places that I never thought I will. But is that my number one passion? No, but sometimes I'm exhausted and all I want to do is draw, and it's meditative for me. So I think it's just really what to give advice. I think for me, I'm like, why do I do the things that I do? I think I do it by necessity, right? That I had to write that book because I felt like that narrative was missing, that children's book. So it was necessary for me to write that book. I had to create that game because I felt it was missing. I researched and I was looking for that particular game, and I realized that nobody cares, nobody's doing that, and there isn't any African trivia card games that you can find online. And because I'm a writer and because I'm also an educator, I was like, okay, I'll do it then. But it's not like I'm constantly creating games or writing books or illustrating. I'll say the 2 things that I do the most is drawing and writing, and like writing films and producing films. That's really my most engagement. But I enjoyed creating the card game, and it's making a difference in people's lives in a way. It's an educational game, and it continues my mission to educate people about the authentic African narrative, right? Not to dispel the myths, to provide a counter narrative, because that's really my mission. So I do that in film, and I found a way to do that in a game to make sure that people can have fun, play a game, but you're learning something. You're learning about Africa, and you're learning the true history of Africa. So I'll just say identify at least the 2 that matter the most and spend more time honing those skills. Because if you're doing everything at the same time, you may miss out on really specializing in one thing. I think that's really my advice, because sometimes I ask myself, if I wasn't juggling so many other things, would I be a better screenwriter? Would I have done, I don't know if you know what I mean, would I have done more films because then I have more time. So those are things that sometimes I wonder, but I really I enjoy drawing. I've been drawing since I was a kid. Mhm.
Yeah, that was very helpful advice. And as a artist who's trying to help develop his style and technique, that advice really helped.
Mhm.
Yeah, I totally agree. I relate to you as always getting inspired and having like so many different ideas. Um, it's just so impressive like how you're able to just really like lock down on an idea and make it happen. It's amazing.
And you can do it too, right? You can do it. You just have to find your collaborators, find your people, find your tribe, especially if you are, I don't know what, are you guys juniors, seniors?
Seniors.
Seniors. Yeah, especially this time where people, you're almost on your way out, try to figure out who are my collaborators, who are people that are talented, and I'm sure there are actors in there. Um, Make a short film on a weekend, like even a 2 minutes short film can be done in one day on a weekend. So I think really creating as much as you can, because the more you create, the better you get. The more you create, the better you get. My first film, the one that I showed you a picture of, I cannot look at that. I cannot watch it because it was made in 2005 and it's like really low quality, and I can see how I've become a better director and a better writer. Just seeing that progression. Every time I look at my old stuff, I'm like, I can't. But it's necessary because it's why I'm here. I've continued to just exercise that creative muscle. So create, even if it has to be a cell phone.
That's amazing. I'm feeling inspired right now.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
to the next question. Out of all the accomplishments you achieved in your career, which is the most rewarding for you?
Oh, the most rewarding. I'll say my feature film, to be honest. That was so hard to make. Nobody told me. I should have called all the people who had made a feature film before. It was a long process. I think it was like 25 days. And we realized how it was during the production, it was important to take a couple of breaks because it's intense when you're on set. So imagine having 25 days to just complete this story, and you are waking up at the crack of dawn because you've rented expensive equipment, so you must maximize your time, right? If you're only shooting for 5 hours, that means there's going to be more days, which every day is a cost. So you have to, so we'll wake up at 5 o'clock in order to begin production at 7 a.m. Everyone will be at the location at 7 a.m. And we'll wrap at, it was 10 hours at 5. And most of the time, to be honest, we'll wrap at like 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock. And imagine the intensity. So for me, that was my biggest accomplishment, because to be able to go through that as a novice feature director. I had made short films, and to go through that, I learned a lot. So now I'm ready. I'm a little nervous about tackling my next feature because I know how hard it is. Even when you are professional, when you have a great, it's a hard schedule, and it's not child friendly. I don't know if as a mother, like part of my anxiety is, oh, I'll be gone for 5 days without barely seeing because that means I'm gonna come home like after 8 every day, and I'm gonna leave at the cross, which means I'm barely gonna see my children. So it is hard, and part of it is like also understanding why there are very few women in this field because of their schedule. The schedule is just not parent friendly. But the good thing about it is that you just go in for those days that you need to shoot, and you'll be done for that year, right? So if it's 25 days out of a year, it's a sacrifice, and it's not easy, but it's if you really wanted to shoot a feature. So yeah, shooting that feature is like my biggest accomplishment, and it was successful too. So after we wrapped, we got into a lot of festivals, got a lot of awards. So that really made me feel like even though with the challenges of the production, it really like I felt so fulfilled as an artist after completing that.
So we just have a time, I know you guys have many questions. We only really have time for another 2 as part of our live session. So if you want to pick the 2 last questions you want to ask Thato, then we can move towards our closure.
So I have one more question. So how do you come up with the setup for your films and documentaries? When making a film or documentary for a group or organization, do you come up with an idea, or do you give it to them to review, or do they come to you with the idea and you work based on that?
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of organizations actually, and I'm currently developing a short series with University of Buffalo for the Family Planning Institute. So when I work with not the youth, the youth projects were different. We created an idea together as a collaborative thing. But when I get hired on projects, the idea is already there. I'm coming in as a filmmaker just to figure out, okay, what I ask an organization is, especially for example, this one that I'm working with, the first meeting was like, what are your outcomes? What do you want? Because they want to reach audience, and they want to use film to reach that audience because they want to disseminate some information, right? So and my job is to take all that data, because most of the time it's like research. Actually, it was a research. The nurse who reached out to me is a research project with a refugee community in Buffalo, New York, and they are Congolese. So she heard about my work with nonprofits, especially in public health, and reached out to me, and she sent me her research paper. So I had to read it because I was trying to figure out what is it that you want to get. So my job is to now take that and try to whatever information that she's trying to educate people about different types of family planning, choices for women, whether it's the shot or the condom, all of that, right? So I had to come up with a character, a family, a husband and wife, and they are having this conversation and, being challenged and all of that. So for me, it's just the creative. I take that data and turn it into a creative, but still keeping in mind what the information that needs to be, without it looking like a documentary. In a documentary, it will be an interview. I'll just identify a couple of people to just talk about the whatever information, talk about the issue that they're tackling. So that's one way. So for a documentary, because I've worked in documentary as well with organizations, same thing. It's like they want to do something, they realize that maybe a documentary will be better rather than a paper or a brochure to educate people. So what I do is, for me, I'm always thinking about the audience, and a lot of this educational projects can be boring. So how do you, and because I've worked with youth and I know how hard it is to sustain that attention in terms of, especially in terms of documentary, because I've learned to identify, having worked in a high school for so long as a film teacher, and for my students who make documentaries, I learned to identify certain things that documentaries do that engage the youth, right? So for me, it's like trying to figure out how do I not lose the audience, because some of the data can be too boring if we are just viewing facts in a documentary. So how do you make it creative and make it engaging for people to get that information? So for those contracts, people already have the idea. They already know what they want. My job is just to package it and package it in the way that is palatable to the audience that they're trying to target. So that way is they can be educated while they're being entertained, right? Because the point is, hey, let's watch a film about this couple, but they're actually learning about family planning. But it's actually a drama. The couple is like having issues and they're trying to figure out or something, right? But they're very invested in the story, but in the process, they're learning about all of those options that are available for family planning and as they tackle this problem. So that's where I come in to make it, to dramatize it and fictionalize it and make it interesting to watch, and so it's engaging the audience. But we know that we're sprinkling in some of the things that the organization needs to that the organization needs to reach that audience, that target.
And this is my final question. How do you think the industry has evolved in terms of diversity and inclusion since you began your career?
I think there's been progress, right? But I feel like, I don't know if the progress that have been made is being stripped away, right? Because it's like we go 5 steps forward and create all this equity, programs, DEI, and now we are erasing all of that. So I don't know. I think we are, even like in general, like in terms of diversity, I think with the George Floyd protest, what studios, especially in Hollywood, realized was that they did a lot more work to open doors for people of color, and we started to see some representation on TV and also in film. And now with the political climate, I don't know how that is going to go, because there's a lot of pushbacks now. There's a lot of pushback. So there's been, to answer your question, because at this point right now, there's a big question mark, right? But I'm looking at the Oscar nominees right now. There's representation. We're seeing different faces. It's not, Emilia Perez is nominated, and what's her name? Zoe Saldana she's nominated for leading actress. That's a positive. She's Afro-Latina, so we're seeing something, and there is an awareness of kind of like making sure that people are included. And I think I've been seeing more and more of that. But I'm not Hollywood. I don't produce for Hollywood. I study the industry from afar, because for me, I don't ask permission from Hollywood to produce my stuff. What I would need one day from Hollywood is maybe the resources, but I pretty much am an independent filmmaker, and I just, create. So my own journey obviously has been challenged as an independent filmmaker, because the competition for funds, grants, because we rely on grants as an independent filmmaker. So that's a different story altogether. So for me, I'm always looking at Hollywood and seeing its progress, and I see they are making attempts at remedying those issues. But how long is that gonna go with the political climate that we're in now? So
Thank you, Thato. Thank you also, Ben and Ali. And that's a somewhat sobering note to end on at this particular moment. But your talk, Thato, has been so incredibly thought-provoking and inspirational. And I really appreciate, you making yourself available to us amidst all of your commitments and the various things that you're juggling. I understand how difficult it is also being a mother and doing what you do. But thank you for being so honest and open and authentic and generous with us and sharing your experience and your advice. And again, thanks to Ben and Ali for moderating, and also a big shout out to Musawir Abrar, our event producer working behind the scenes. Thank you, Musawir. So as we wrap up, and I'm sorry to do so because I know there's so much more to discuss, but please check out our entire 2025 lineup. I'm speaking to our viewers now, as well as our great back catalog of speakers from 2021, 22, 23, and 24 at dmd.uconn.edu/diverse. And don't forget to subscribe to us here on YouTube and follow our other social media channels at UConn DMD to see all of our department's great content. So again, thanks to our students and everyone who worked together to produce this great event. And most of all, thanks to all of you out there in our virtual audience for joining us today. I hope all of you are as inspired about Thato's work and insights as we are in this Zoom room. There is much work to be done, as we know. But if we continue to inspire and mentor our young creatives together, we can change this digital world for the better. And stay tuned for our next Diverse Perspectives event on February 18th with Colombian screenwriter and filmmaker Juan Carlos Lacerna. I hope you can join us then. So goodbye, everybody. And Thato, stay with us because we'll be having a informal conversation with our students in our Diverse Perspectives class. But Ali and Ben, you can log off, and I'm going to log off here and join us in the other room.